Welcome to the Nonmember Project, where we're focusing on the stories of non-LDS students that attend BYU, and this is Fernanda.
Hi.
Fernanda's been helping behind the camera for
Yeah.
a lot of our episodes, and we finally gotten the chance to interview her. So you're a freshman, correct?
Yes.
And you've
Yeah.
come all the way from
El Salvador.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you like it here?
So it was a huge change starting for the weather. El Salvador is very humid, and here is super dry, and you have to be wearing like a lot of lotion or like chapstick. So yeah, then the culture is totally different, and religion. But yeah, we already know that. And yeah, missing the food or my family. Yeah.
So why did you decide to come to the States for college in the first place?
So I started looking for colleges abroad in high school, and I applied to Mexico, El Salvador, also to the US. I think I applied to one in Spain.
Awesome.
And at first I was accepted at CUA, Catholic University of America, in Washington, D.C. But they gave me a scholarship, but it was still like super expensive to go, plus housing. And so I deferred for 1 year, and I was working back in El Salvador. So I worked like for 9 months and decided to apply to other colleges. And then I found out about BYU's tuition. So it was like
significantly less.
Yeah. Plus, it was a great program. I think the Marriott School is like top 30 of their country, something like that. So it was a great education and a more affordable price. So yeah, I applied, and at first I thought that they weren't gonna accept me because I'm not a member of the LDS church, but they did, and I'm here.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah.
And we're so happy to have you. Fernanda's been a great asset. She's the president of the Newman Club, which is our Catholic club on campus, and our religious clubs tend to kind of go up and down in waves. Like, there will be a student that comes in and takes over the club and does a really good job running it and kind of including everyone of that religion, and then they'll leave, and then there will be a year, several years sometimes, where there isn't anyone running that club. So it's definitely difficult sometimes to get people connected on campus, and Fernanda's been a big part of trying to maintain a community where we can have connection with people of other faiths, and yeah, just different ways that we can find connection as minorities at BYU. So so you came in as a freshman, and you're still a freshman. So you've started on all of this stuff pretty early, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I took a while till I got really involved in kind of the belonging aspect of things because it's a little bit daunting. So what helped you to feel like you could really create a place of belonging on BYU campus for people that are different like you and I?
So my first semester here was for the summer, and I came up from going to a weekly worship with my sister, my friends, to just go to mass, like with my family. And it was super different because you don't get to create a community if you don't really go to like things that are closer to university. I don't know if like with people your own age.
Yeah.
So when I go to mass, it's like older people or like families. And so I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, it's so depressing. So I found out about BYU's Newman Club on Instagram, and I sent a text message, but they never replied. So I figured it was out or it was the summer. And then I found out on a Facebook group chat for BYU and UVU's Catholic Club Bible study. So I just sent a message, and they replied saying, yeah, you should come. It's Thursday at 5 p.m. See you at the church. And it was like, okay, nice. The fun part is that they didn't know that I don't drive here. So I had to take like a 45-minute drive on bus. And then I had to walk like 15 more minutes. But then I made it. And then it was super nice seeing people my own age, like getting together. And the first time we did the sign of the cross, like before starting the Bible study, I felt like I wanted to cry. Like, everyone was like doing something that I believed in for like the first time in like 2 months that I was here.
Yeah.
So it was a super nice opportunity, and I was just thinking like, how is it possible that I can't have this in college?
Mm-hmm.
So then I met two of my friends that are also Catholic. And yeah, it was like, okay, we have more Catholic people. What are we gonna do about it? So I reached out to the university chaplain, Jim, and he was telling me about the Catholic club that they have here, but that it was inactive since like 2019.
Yeah.
Even before the pandemic.
And COVID made it really difficult too with clubs to kind of, when we weren't able to do anything in person, obviously, then kind of clubs fall by the wayside. And so getting them started again after COVID has been a really big task. And it's been pretty successful, honestly, just because of the students that we have right now in the Office of Belonging that's willing to support us. But it's definitely been difficult to get things started again.
Yeah. So we started having more events with the Catholic Club here on campus. There are around 78 more Catholics on campus. I think we've met like 20 or 15-ish.
Yeah, Catholics are the biggest minority faith tradition at BYU.
Yeah.
So out of all of the faiths that are not LDS on campus, Catholics are the most represented.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
Yeah. No, so yeah, we've been having like some events and getting to know each other. There's people from around the world, and it's super nice to see different cultures like getting together and having something really nice in common this time. So yeah, we've been super happy to be able to like meet and get to know all of us, and also like working with other faiths. Like I was in a Bible study for the Cross Seekers Club. It was super nice to have that experience, to see how we can all like see what we have in common instead of our differences. So yeah.
And the Cross Seekers Club is the club I'm the president of, and it's mostly Protestant students.
Yeah.
So it's created for Protestant students, but mostly we study the Bible from a Protestant perspective. And of course, we would welcome any Catholics or LDS students that want to come because they also study the Bible, or any other students that are interested, but usually those are the only two other groups that are interested. And we just try to make it a place that's welcoming for everyone, even though we're studying it from a specific perspective in order to kind of make a space for those people. And Fernanda's been studying the Bible and from a Catholic perspective at the Newman Club, so it's been really cool to just interact with her and kind of get our clubs to work together and meet each other, because we're both pretty small minorities and we do have a lot of beliefs in common. So yeah, that's really exciting. So you mentioned a couple of things about Catholicism that people might not understand completely. Okay. So what's the sign of the cross?
So the sign of the cross is like what you do before praying. So it's basically like in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, like doing a sign of the cross. And it's like a huge, I don't know if it's a manner or like, it gives you like a lot of trust, like to do it, because it's so public that people would like figure out that you're different religion here on campus. Like my first weeks, I was like, before I eat, I do like a small prayer. So I would just do a small sign of the cross. and then I was like, okay, so I was able to do it with the Bible study people. And then like 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a event here on campus, and we prayed before eating, like all the Catholic people here. And it was super nice, because it was like 4 months ago I was able to do it outside of campus, but now we're bringing it on campus. Yeah. So it was like super nice.
Yeah, it's really special. Yeah. I feel like I've been brought a little bit into Catholic culture since being friends with Fernanda, and also we celebrate Lent, and the beginning of Lent is marked by Ash Wednesday. Yeah. And so Ash Wednesday is a holiday that's definitely incorporated in the Catholic Church. I sometimes celebrate as Protestant, and I know other Protestants that also celebrate, and Orthodox Christians celebrate. so yeah, we've all kind of connected over this shared tradition that's outside of the LDS church, and I went to mass on Ash Wednesday with one of my Catholic friends, one of my Orthodox Christian friends, and then myself. So we were all at mass. I was like, this is so nice.
Yeah.
Just to be able to kind of have this place outside of the LDS church, even though we obviously care about the LDS church and all of our friends that are part of it. But sometimes it's just nice to be able to be with people that share your beliefs and can celebrate holidays with you. And it's definitely interesting to come back to campus. For those that don't know, like with Ash Wednesday, you have literally a cross of ash on your forehead. Yeah. They give you a cross of ash.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I think it's really important for people to find their sense of community around, even if it's like just 1, 2, or 3 more people. You get to like talk about things that the rest of the people don't really get at some point, or you have to explain the context, and it's gonna be like, it's gonna take a while, or they might not understand it at first, or might not see it the way you see it.
Yeah, I think like we really, really value our interfaith relationships here. Like we have so many LDS friends that we love so much, and they're some of our closest friends too. Like there's not really like a particularly large divide, I would say, between me and my closest LDS friends compared to me and my friends that share my faith. But there's definitely a learning curve that you go through with people that don't share your faith. And on BYU campus, because we do go through so many unique experiences as non-LDS students, where whether it's, you know, just going to be in religion classes that are not our religion, or constantly having people talking about things that we don't participate in, whether that's, you know, temple marriages, or going to sacrament meeting, or word prayer,
or their missions
evening, missions. Obviously we care about those things, we know about them, and we can in some sense relate to them, but they're not really part of our tradition. And so it can be really nice just to sit with people that you're like, oh, they get it. It's kind of a relief.
And I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but we were talking about the same thing but from different perspectives around the world. For example, one of my friends was telling us that they get a saint after they are born, that goes with them throughout their lives. So I didn't have that, but it was super nice to be able to listen to that. I've heard about being named after the saint of the day you get born.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, it was
Can you
really
explain
nice.
like what Catholic saints are?
Yeah, so there are different type of saints. For example, like some popes have been saints that are people that have a great impact in the history of the church by doing something like being able to do a miracle through other people. There's a recent saint is super young, by the way. His name is Carlo Acutis. Well, he's in the period of being a saint, in the process. So he was able to evangelize throughout social media. Like he was super recent, and like seeing the impact that people have, and just being able to find that that way that you can relate to certain saint. Like there's a saint for doctors, there's a saint for mothers, there's a saint for people that bake, or that just love a specific activity. It's super nice to find someone that you can relate to and was able to obtain the sanctity to be a saint.
Yeah. So how do you become a saint? What are the requirements?
Okay, so you have to, I don't know exactly the process, but there has to be a miracle that happened under your intercession, or you were praying for that miracle to that saint. Then the church goes through a process, and they do more research about it. It can take years to be a saint. So the first time that I heard about Latter-day Saints, it was like, oh, okay, so they are gonna know about like saints. It was like a totally different thing.
Yeah, it was completely different.
Yeah, and we also have like different levels of priests, and there are bishops, and there are like priests.
Right.
And then
it's a lot of the same words in a
Yeah.
completely different context.
Totally
so it can
different.
be very confusing to come to BYU and hear the same words used in a completely different way. Like,
Yeah.
bishops are not the same, priests are
No.
not the same, saints are not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like a friend was telling me, oh, I'm thinking of bringing some bishops here to campus to explore like the careers and the buildings and all the opportunities. And I was like, oh, okay, so you want to talk with the chaplain? And he was like, wait, what? No, can I just talk with the academic advisor? And I was like, oh, but you're talking about bishops. So it was like, yeah, he didn't get it until we were like, I just told him that I was not a member of the LDS church, and he was like, oh, okay, and then he just explained everything to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, so you can just talk to this advisor.
Yeah. Yep. It's weird. The vocabulary is a learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine like being thrown into kind of a full English world for the first time, and then also having the confusion of words that are the same but different.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
Yeah. You get like very thankful for when you have friends that speak your same language, because it's such a relief, and you get like explain more things or like express more deeply things that just having to figure out the words in the other language. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job though.
Thanks.
So one thing that we sometimes talk about, and I don't think we've covered in an interview yet, is taking classes and hearing things about your religion in those classes.
Yeah.
And this has happened to me so many times. It tends to happen more often with Catholics and Protestants because our faiths are somewhat adjacent to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Obviously, there are times where it's mentioned positively, but I found that most of the time when my faith is mentioned, it's either inaccurate or negative.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah.
And it can be really frustrating because you don't want to say anything in front of a lecture hall. You don't want to raise your hand and pen yourself as a non-member and then explain to someone who's supposed to, be teaching that what they're saying isn't accurate. But it's also, kind of puts us in a tricky position. So have you had any experiences where you've heard something about your faith that was just not accurate or that was kind of negative in a class?
Yeah, so there was this time that I was in a religion class, and they were talking about different religions having different opinions towards the same topic. And they had the LDS Church, they have the Catholic Church, and they have one more, but I don't remember quite exactly. But they were like, we have this saying that they were throwing flowers to the LDS church, like saying positive things, like, and I get it, it's a LDS church university. So, and then they started talking about the Catholic Church, and the professor did like explain it normally, but then students started like raising their hand and saying, I don't know how they can believe this. This is so random. It was like I just wanted to leave, but at the same time I'm paying for this education, so
can't stand up and leave.
Yeah, and if you're in front of around 200 other students,
religion classes are really big here. Like there are always lecture halls because so many people have to take religion classes that they're really big. So there's not really much you can do without being looked as an outcast, basically. That's so true.
So I just chose not to say anything and just continue with the class. And there was this other time that I had to present the prayer at the beginning of the class.
Yeah. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times at BYU, we pray before class.
Yeah.
And they have different systems. Like every professor has a different system for prayer. So sometimes they'll just like pick you out of the crowd and say, hey, do you mind praying? And they give you kind of an option.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they'll look at their like class role and like pick someone and then they'll say, hey, Fernanda, are you here?
Yeah.
You want to get the prayer? And it's in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they'll like come to you privately or whatever. And if it's a smaller class, they might like ask you individually. But there's almost always a prayer at the beginning of every class, including STEM classes, like even the science classes and courses where they aren't religion based.
Yeah.
There's still a prayer at the beginning. So you can be put in a position where you're asked to pray and maybe you weren't expecting it.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. And I just looked at my friend that she's not LDS either. So we were both like, what am I supposed to do? So I just started like as they usually do, and then I prayed, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm done. But I didn't remember how to finish like the prayer,
Right.
and I just looked at her while everyone's heads was like tilted.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like said the words like to me, and I was like, oh yeah, and I just said it and finished and went back to my seat.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
And we do, yeah. The prayers here are very much in a different format. Anyone who's watching that's LDS will know. But it starts always with, well,
Yeah.
there's exceptions. But basically, it almost always starts with, Dear Heavenly Father. And then you only use thee and thy for God. And then you say, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Uh-huh.
And so for Catholics and Protestants, we don't have that strict of like a
Mm-mm.
guideline of prayer. And culturally that doesn't, like, we don't get stuck in this like pattern of prayer.
Mhm.
Really, like we tend to see in LDS culture here.
Yeah.
So obviously there's LDS people that pray differently than that, but you almost never ever hear it in a class.
No.
Like there was one time I can remember, and I would remember. There was one time I can remember where one of my friends started a prayer that was LDS and said, "Dear God," and I was like, "What?
What?
Like there's something wrong." But yeah, and we all you fold your arms like this, put your head down, and if you're praying in class, then you do that and you stand up. And so everyone knows that you're praying. So, like, there was a time that I prayed in class, and I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to sound LDS when I pray because I'm not LDS.
Yeah.
And so I'm totally happy to give the prayer, and obviously I'm not going to say anything offensive, but I don't say it in an LDS manner. And so I got asked to pray, and I was like, sure, of course. And he's like, all right, Leah's going to give the prayer, but people are still kind of, like, chattering and everything. And I just start praying because I'm like, it's fine. Like, they'll figure it out. But because I wasn't standing up, people were so confused. Like, everyone was like, oh, like, so sorry. And I just forgot that it's so cultural to stand up. They're kind of waiting for that cue in your classes for someone to stand up and start praying. And I was just sitting there like this, you know?
Yeah.
So
I met one of my Catholic friends I think it was information systems class.
Mm-hmm.
And they were praying, and I was like just waiting until it was over. And he was waiting too, and I was like,
you guys saw each other during
yeah.
the prayer.
It was like, dude, are you? And he was like, I'm not. And I'm like, me neither. And it was like super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met one Catholic in class. It was on Ash Wednesday my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And no one, like, I don't know what was going on, but for some reason the professor would, like, call a name, and, like, no one was there that day that he was asking to pray. And so our whole class is just, like, sitting there after he's called, like, the third person, and they're not there.
Yeah.
And this guy, like, comes running in the door.
Yeah.
So he's standing up loudly, and everyone looks at him, and the professor's like, do you mind praying? And this guy's like, sure. And he's got, like, ash on his forehead, and I was like, okay. And he started praying, and it wasn't an LDS prayer, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My friend.
That's so nice.
Yeah, but it's kind of a weird phenomenon here, but we do find
Yeah.
friends that way.
Yeah.
Through prayers.
No, what I really like is when someone's not doing something that they are supposed to do. So it's like, are they LDS or are you not? So
yeah, and not even in like a bad way. Just in like if someone's outside the cultural norms just a little bit, you're kind of like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Like just praying differently. Like what are some other ones you can think of? Like Sign of the Cross is obviously a big one. Like on Ash Wednesday, if you have like ash on your forehead.
Yeah, if you're wearing a cross.
Yeah. Although that's more common now in LDS culture too. But a lot of the time, if you're wearing a cross, it's...
Yeah, I have a medal of Virgin Mary. So
definitely, Virgin Mary, you can tell. Okay, so going back to kind of hearing things in class about your religion.
Yeah.
Obviously we go to an LDS university, so there's not, like, we can't expect every professor to be an expert on our religions.
Yep.
And we don't expect that. But what are some ways that you think professors could be more aware of non-LDS students when they're in class? Because most professors probably don't realize this, and I've been in classes where they've blatantly said that they think the whole class is LDS.
Yeah. And
so you realize that that's kind of a thing. But even in lecture halls, we're 1 out of 100, which is really small, but in a lecture hall, there's going to be at least one. And so, depending on your major too, there could be more non-members. So I think it's really important for BYU professors to realize there's non-members in the class and don't get lazy with the things that you say about other religions, because sometimes I think that's really what happens is a professor will hear something or say something just out of laziness, knowing that everyone in the class is going to agree with them. But then if you have one person in the class, like for instance, if you say something really rude or untrue about Catholicism and Fernanda's there, like you instantly feel like you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Like it is so fast. And so, to say something about someone's religion especially is just really damaging. And you can say that you disagree for sure without saying like bad things about someone's religion that are just not true. So what would you say is like the best way for professors to approach other religions in respect to the students who may be in their class?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing is that they don't have to take for granted that everyone is a member of the LDS church. So, like, you said it, we are the 1%, literally. So,
Literally,
there are, like, some guidelines at the beginning of each syllabus, like, at the end of each syllabus, sorry. And I would include that freedom of religion that all of us have in general, and not assuming that everyone is, and they're not going to be like offended by any commentary, or even just avoiding doing a unnecessary commentary during the class, because most classes are not exactly religion related.
Yeah.
So when you relate it to something that maybe was not necessary to say, it can go like either way.
Yeah, like it's totally fair to relate it to what you do know.
Yeah.
But then there's instances where sometimes something will get thrown out and you can tell it's just something that, like I said, it's just out of laziness, where the professor just assumes that no one in the room is part of that religion and that everyone's going to agree with what he says or she says. And yeah, that's the things that like might be a 15-second lapse in judgment that are astronomical for non-LDS students, especially for freshmen. Like when you have a freshman coming in not knowing what they're getting into and like trying to navigate the whole like being a religious minority and trying to find friends with their religion, and then to hear something like bad about their religion said in front of a huge group of people that's all like, oh yeah, we agree, or even just is silent because no one knows how to respond to that, even if you disagree with it. It can be really difficult. Yeah,
it's already hard enough just for you to go and make it harder for us. So, and it also goes with the empathy you feel for the rest of the communities, like here, and especially all minorities. Like, we know that we are like 1 in 100, you said it, and that we might feel like people already might be trying to expose us to missionaries or something like that. And we already have to deal with all that stuff, and plus having a bad commentary or a negative thought can go and even push us down. Like there are people that can struggle with all that stuff and might not have someone to share that with and keep on battling with that by themselves.
Yeah, especially if you're living in like the dorms or something, and it can be really difficult to find anyone that's part of your religion. And Fernanda and I have talked a lot about the difficulty of getting people to church. Because a lot of students like her that are international students don't have cars here, and some of them aren't even allowed to have cars, and so it can be really difficult because the public transport systems in Utah don't run on Sundays.
No.
And so when kind of in Utah, we are so used to, oh, my ward is right in my neighborhood. Like, that's where I go to church, and it's all super, super close because there's so many LDS people here. You can have a church on almost literally every corner. Which is great. But then it really makes people forget that there's people that can't get to church because their churches are not close and they don't have a car and the public transportation does not run. And so that's a real difficulty. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah. So thank God I'm able to go to Mass. I go with my friend and my family. They take me, and I know that I'm very lucky and blessed for that, but I know that there's a lot of people. Some of my friends don't have a car. I don't have a car. And it's too expensive to get one. Like, plus we're international students, so it's already like kind of expensive. And as non-LDS students, we pay double tuition. So, it's not something that we can just go, oh, I want a car. No, I just can't.
No way. Yeah. Not much less a reliable car. Like, we're having a crazy winter right now in 2023, and there's no way. Like, you would have to get a pretty reliable car in order to be able to get to church on a Sunday.
Yeah. The closest church is St. Francis. It's in Orem.
Most students live in Provo, and so, yeah, getting to Orem, which is a whole town away.
Yeah.
It's close if you have a car.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a car and public transportation isn't running, there's really no way to get there.
No.
So, yeah, it's kind of an issue. So if there's anyone that's interested in helping our non-LDS students, one of the things that people really tend to need is someone to take them to church.
Yeah.
Even if it's like one time.
Yeah, we had a student panel for non-LDS students like 2 weeks ago. And someone was very kind. We brought up this topic. And someone was very kind to offer us ride for the next weekend. And people were like super grateful for that because your next option is getting a Uber, which is like $30 each way, and we're already in a
already financially
struggling.
A little bit, yeah.
So yeah, and sometimes going on Saturday doesn't work for everyone because some people still work on Saturdays. So yeah.
Yeah, and Mass is typically on Saturday evenings and Sunday mornings. Yeah, so there are some options, but it can be difficult to make those options work with the availability of resources we have here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And even if you just want to go with them, as much as you invite us to go to like LDS church, you are free to come to Catholic church or like your church. Like, where do you go?
I go to Alpine Bible Church in Lehigh.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So we are always happy to have people come with us. Like, I don't know a single non-member that would not have you come to their church.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think one of the things that I really love emphasizing in the non-member experience is that it really helps our relationships, interfaith relationships, when you're willing to get uncomfortable too. And when you consider, like, we've gotten uncomfortable by, meeting with the missionaries, going to the ward, going to family home evenings, going to ward prayer, attending all of our friends' different religious events, we've, like, really put ourselves in the position of saying, like, this might be uncomfortable, I might not understand it all the time, might not be culturally normal for me, but I'm going to get uncomfortable so that I can, like, help respect this religion and also have a good relationship with my friends that are part of it. And we don't get a lot of that in return. And so when we do have friends that are willing to say, I'm willing to be uncomfortable and get outside of my space,
we really appreciate that.
We so appreciate it. Yeah. And we would, like I said, I don't know a single non-member that would tell you no. So, like, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
We would love to have you at our religious services, not to convert you.
No.
Just to share our traditions.
Yeah, we want to make you part of, like, what we believe in because we are so immersed in what you believe in already.
Yeah. Yeah, and we love it. But it's also nice to have our friends coming and kind of reciprocating a little bit. So, Fernanda, what is your best advice for a non-member student that might be coming in as a freshman, like you are right now, that's really needing to find a sense of community here?
So I think it all starts with having, like, strong roots in your faith and what you believe in, and also having a family and friends, even back home, that can still call you and, like, show you their support, or, like, having Zoom meetings, but also, like, trying to find your people on campus, but don't limit yourself to just on campus.
Yeah.
There are a lot of friends that I've been able to make from UVU, from the Newman Center, up in Salt Lake. It's like a 2-hour trip to go there, but I really like the way that I feel when I go there. So I know that I can catch, like, some homework while I'm on the train or things like that. But yeah, don't be afraid of having to do that extra mile to get what you really like, and having your mind set up to not all the negative things that you might hear, like, daily or, like, every once in a while. But trying to find the people, even if they're not your same religion. I have so much good time, like, with you and, like, people from the Office of Belonging. Yeah. Like, trying to talk about things from our lives, and they get it. And it's like we have, like, different beliefs, but at the same time we focus on like the positive and similarities that we have between them. So yeah, I think trying to find your people is like a huge startup.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I would go for that. Even if you just meet one person or are able to find just one more Catholic or other religion you are, just even one is enough. Like, talk about quality and not quantity, and yeah, they can become your safe space, and yeah, build great friendships.
Yeah, I've found a lot of belonging in having a faith community outside of BYU.
Yeah.
And I think you can say the same, where sometimes you can kind of maintain just like living within a different faith like we do here for a little while, but I think it's really hard to find a complete sense of belonging when you're completely detached from what you believe in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be Christian, Muslim, LDS, like even if you don't really have like a faith per se, but you just have a certain worldview, being able to connect with people that agree with that worldview or kind of have the same core like values as you can be super helpful. And instead of trying, sometimes I just feel like I'm trying to play a part here.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying so hard to fit into this like moral framework that you don't really believe is a moral like it's not your personal moral framework.
No.
And so we totally respect it, but it doesn't feel genuine sometimes to like constantly be asking yourself to pretend like you're a person that fits into a religion that you're not a part of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's really helpful to have people, like Fernanda said, like some of our closest friends are Muslim, Catholic for me, Protestant for her, LDS, and those people get us just as much as people of our own religion, but you do also need a space with people who agree with your morals and can kind of uphold you in that and help you be attached to your roots a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's something that could happen if you are not able to find that community, is that you'll be like, you will just give up like the fact of like being here and would think, what am I doing here? I still ask myself that question sometimes.
Yeah, what am I doing?
Yeah, but yeah, it gets easier if you have someone to share those struggles with, but also those fun parts of life.
Yeah, we have so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many fun things we get to experience because we're religious minorities here, and like people call us, I think this is probably true for you too, people like call me from home and be like, so, is this thing about BYU real? And like, yeah! Or no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Sometimes really they tell me things that I didn't even know about BYU. And I'm like, do they do that?
Is it real?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a really good time here. So, what's something that you would like people to know about Catholicism here at BYU?
Here at BYU? Yeah, so we are still growing with the Catholic Club. We are all like super excited to like get to know more people and share what we believe in. And we are super glad when people like genuinely ask us about land or what it is about and like the rest of the things that we do. And I don't think that you just go outside and say, I'm Catholic, like you just go and scream it like in front of the whole campus. If you really just someone gets to tell you that they are of a different culture, of a different religion, they have like a genuine interest into keeping you in their lives. Like I don't go like telling everyone that I'm Catholic, because it's like I know that I might not see you like the next semester or something like that. But if I really like how we have a relationship, it's like, oh, I'm not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're like, what, really? And they just have two options. Like, they can just go and give your number to the missionaries, or they can find a genuine relationship with you.
So find a genuine relationship instead of giving our numbers to the missionaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do love the missionaries, though.
Yeah, we do love them. Just stop giving them our phone numbers.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so as far as finding a sense of belonging on BYU campus, just to close out, like what has created a sense of belonging for you on this campus since you've been here?
At like the beginning of my time here at BYU, I was like super felt like an outcast, like for real. Like, what am I even doing this? But then you get to meet two more people that are crazy enough to be here representing their religions, being so brave to be here and to stay here, that you get, okay, yeah, I really like how this is going. So yeah, I think I already said it, but finding your people is like a key element for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps you to go the long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to meet people that are ahead of you, like, there's always going to be non-members here that are, older than, or further along in school than the people who are entering right now. And I have never met a non-member that wouldn't be happy to help someone through their first couple of years here, even their first couple semesters, whatever. Because it can be pretty hard at the beginning, but once you kind of establish roots, then you can be that person for someone else. And that's really important to contributing to belonging on this campus, where we can just say, like, we're not LDS, we're never going to be the majority, we don't want to be the majority, like, we don't want to make this anything other than an LDS school, but it's really nice to have people who understand the specific difficulties that we might go through because we're non-LDS, and to just be able to hang out with them, and then from there just branch out to plenty of people of other religions, and obviously LDS friends as well. We have so many of those. And so yeah, it's a really great experience if you just lean into it. So.
Yeah, I've met a lot of graduate students that are not LDS. They have different religions. And it's so nice to listen to like their stories, because they already knew like the whole background of BYU, but still chose to come here. And it's like super nice. Like, I wanted someone to look forward to that, like the way I'm looking forward to another student here. Yeah, you can learn a lot of new things from different people.
Yeah. Fernanda, thank you so much for being on. It's been great to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And she's almost always behind the camera, so thank you for all your help. We've been so glad to have you.
No, thank you for letting me help you with this great project. I hope everyone finds something valuable in everything that non-member students have been talking about. And yeah, you can get to know more non-LDS people. If you can, find a genuine connection with them. And yeah, just listen.
Yep, that's a great takeaway.
Yeah.